I'd like you to imagine the daughter of my best friend. Her name is Feli. She's born on the 11th of September 2008. This was about the time where three guys in San Francisco, Brian, Joe, and Nathan, founded what later became Airbnb. This was also about the time where two other guys in the Bay Area started developing what is now Uber. 2008 was also the year where I started researching the sharing economy. Now, what is so special about the sharing economy? We always had car rental or tool rental from DIY markets. What is special about sharing economy firms is that they do not own the assets that are shared. They are simply the matchmaker between somebody who wants to share assets and somebody who wants to get access. The initial idea of the sharing economy was to make use of idle resources. Let's go back to Feli. 3 years later, in 2011, Airbnb made its first international move by buying a company in Germany. Uber started later, or very shortly after, offering their services in their first non-US market in London. Another 3 years later, Feli is 6 years old. Uber was already connecting riders in over 100 cities around the globe. The asset-free nature of the sharing economy allows them to grow extremely quickly. Let's fast forward into the present. Feli is 14 years old. While she became a proper teenager, Airbnb and Uber became the icons of the sharing economy. Feli wants to save the world. She cares about climate change, about social responsibility, is a fan of Greta Thunberg, and buys her clothes on Vinted. For her, sharing and making use of idle resources is in her DNA. She has none of this stranger danger that we, the pioneering generation of the sharing economy, had when we opened the door of our first Airbnb apartment that could be owned by a psychopath. Why am I telling you all this? Didn't we want to talk about the future of the sharing economy? With this, I just want to give you a sense of how quickly these platforms grow and leap into adjacent sectors. Let's do a quick test. Please, everyone, stand up if you've heard of Airbnb and Uber before entering this room today. Yes, please, stand up. That was almost rhetorical. If you wouldn't be standing right now, I would have asked myself where you have been in the last 14 years. Now, keep standing if you know Too Good To Go. Okay. That's a platform trying to prevent food waste, with 8 years after being founded, it has 18 million members. Keep standing if you know Just Park. Just Park is a platform sharing private parking spaces, with currently 45,000 parking spaces around the UK. Keep standing if you know either EV Match, Friendsurance, or Stashby. All right, I thought so. Whoever is standing still can sit down now. Some of these companies are in their infancy now. They're hidden gems of the sharing economy, but they might be the icon of tomorrow. Let's jump 7 years ahead. Feli is 21, it is 2029. She just graduated in psychology and has her first job and moves into her first own apartment. She has lots of things to do. First, her tenancy agreement. Her landlord has put a couple of things in there that she isn't quite sure about. So all she needs is somebody with a bit of legal expertise. She doesn't have the money to go to a lawyer. She uploads it on App Council. Next day, she has 2 or 3 different people with legal expertise that have looked through the contract and said, don't worry about it, that's all fine. Moving means Feli finally has enough space for her belongings that didn't fit in her student room. She goes onto the Stash Bee app, arranges collection of her items that she kept with an older couple around the corner that live in a house and that had some space in their attic. Next, internet. The internet provider will take a couple of days to switch over her Wi-Fi to her new apartment. Great that she's a fund member. She shares her private Wi-Fi with others, and for this, she has access to currently 23 million hotspots around the globe. Finally, the day of the move. Everything goes well, but she's exhausted at the end of the day. All she wants is a hot shower. Guess what? Shower is cold. And it's way past midnight. Thank goodness for Nerd app. She goes on the app and searches for nerds and finds John, who seems still awake. John directs her via video call what to show him at the boiler, and within minutes they figure out it's just a low pressure. He shows her what to do, and that is fixed pretty quickly. So Feli goes off into the shower and a good night's sleep. The next morning, she has one more box to move. It's the heaviest one. It falls on her foot. It instantly starts swelling, and she's worried, and it hurts. She doesn't have time to go to the doctor. She has lots of things to do. So she uploads a photo and the story on CrowdMed. Within 2 hours, she gets some medical advice from experts, and they say she should go and see a doctor if the swelling doesn't go down within 2 days. Getting to know her neighbors after the move, she realizes none of them have a car, but they have a driveway, and that driveway has a charger. That's wasteful in an area where parking is so difficult. She convinces her neighbors to put the parking spot on Just Park and the charger on EV Match. Otherwise, it would be too much of a waste. However, one of her neighbors is worried. What if these people damage the garden fence or the charger? Feli has a solution for that. For 10% of the income that they generate through charging through sharing the charging and the parking space, they can risk share their project on Elinor. Earning money and doing good. Feli likes that. Just in case you are wondering, all these companies exist today. They might be in their infancy, and they might not exist when Feli really grows up to be a young woman. We will see a constant stream of company formations, consolidations, and failures. Unfortunately, it takes a lot more than a good idea to succeed in the sharing economy. Entrepreneurs will spot sectors in which incumbent firms have become all too comfortable with the status quo. My prediction is that customers in the future will not allow them to exploit their gatekeeper role that allows them to get away with complicated, slow, and sometimes even mediocre service. All these sectors will need to watch out. And it's not a matter of comparing one firm in the sector with another firm of the sector. Disruptors come from the outside. It hasn't helped a single taxi company that other taxi companies weren't doing a better job. Let's be clear. Taxi companies could have invented that I can see the price before I book the trip, but they didn't. Taxi companies could have invented that I can rate and track the driver, but they didn't. Taxi companies could have invented that there's one global app that allows us to book a taxi no matter where we are in the world, but you're right, they didn't. All this has nothing to do with the sharing economy. It's customer service, better customer service. The asset-free nature of these platforms just allows them to grow extremely quickly and take some of these incumbent sectors by surprise. So, big question. What are the next sectors to be disrupted? We're at a university. I work here. Let's take my own sector, the education sector. Just imagine companies like Coursera or Udemy would go beyond just offering video lecture notes from around the world. Imagine they would start developing programs. Imagine for a fraction of the fee, they will be able to produce the same capable graduates that we do as universities. If that would happen, I see us massively under pressure. What about banking? With companies like Wise and Monzo, they're already in the middle of being disrupted, and these companies are not even teenagers yet. Let's take one example. International transfers. Some banks in the UK still charge £15 for an international transfer. My prediction is that this will be replaced by peer-to-peer enabled multi-currency accounts. Imagine, you want to transfer $100 into pounds, whereas you want to transfer 80 pounds into dollars. These new types of banks act as matchmakers and just give your money to her and her money to you. That's peer-to-peer. It's that easy. Before I leave you, to think about your sector, where does it exploit its gatekeeper role? Where does it not make use of idle resources? Where does it provide complicated, possibly mediocre service? I have one more important point to make. When we go forward and see the sharing economy further grow, I have one hope. And that is that we go back to the initial idea to make use of idle resources. For this, we need to do one main thing. And that is to keep professional service providers in check. Those people that buy an apartment to put it on Airbnb for the entire year, those people that buy a car to become a professional Uber driver, they're not making use of idle resources. In fact, these professional service providers have shown to have severe negative consequences. The areas with a lot of professional Airbnb apartments become too expensive for residents to live in. And those residents that stay have to deal with an influx of strangers that use their resources but seldomly ever contribute to it. Uber drivers, professional Uber drivers, they might seem independent, but they have little to none social security. Decades of achievements for employment rights boom, vanished. Feli and her generation, the consumer of tomorrow, they're not going to tolerate that. Therefore, my plea today, let's help them today to save the world and not support professional peer service providers. Otherwise, the sharing economy will disrupt more and more sectors without the benefits of the sharing economy. And that is to make use of idle resources. Thank you.